Hey everybody, welcome back to All Things Home. Happy New Year. This is the week before the New Year.
The week before.
Maybe if you're watching it then. If you're not, you're watching it after, then Happy New Year to you too. Happy 2022. That was hard to say.
Either way, it's going to be an epic year, 2022.
2022, and I'm so glad we're not having to write checks anymore. Because we always write the wrong dates on the checks, don't we? I used to anyways. I'm John C.
Denise Richards and Lulu.
Welcome back to another show, All Things Home. We're going to see if Lulu can make it through the whole episode staying awake. Do you think that's possible?
I think she might. She is a very hard-working dog. There are days that she puts in a good 10 hours.
Wow.
This is looking like it might be one of them.
Good for her.
Ooh.
She's happy about the new year, I can tell. You can see her hat. She's got her festive hat on today. What else do we have festive in here? We have our, I hesitate to even touch it because it may fall right in the midst of us. We got our New Year's little, what are these things called?
Disco ball.
Disco balls. We are not going to do any discoing today, so don't ask.
John, you take all the fun out of everything.
If we have 100 subscribers before New Year's, I will do some disco.
You're going to disco?
If we have 100. So
on
like
air.
and subscribe.
If we have 100 subscribers, John C. is going to disco.
Yes.
It just does not get any more exciting than that.
It doesn't get more exciting. All right. Before we get too excited, I don't want to get too excited, okay? Not yet.
Okay.
Because we have some things to talk about today.
True.
And first of all, if you are on this show thinking you're going to get a ton of figures and graphs and charts, I just want to remind the people, this is not that show. We're probably not going to post a ton of numbers, although we will talk numbers. I don't want to get into all of that type of data. Okay, if they want that, they can click on another video on this YouTube page for that. This is a little more laid back, just conversations. We want to connect people, want to educate people, want to inform people.
And we want to have a little fun.
And we do want to have a little fun. So we want to do all those things, and we don't know how that's always going to go. Yes, we kind of have the show scripted a little bit with some bullet points, but that's about it. We just see where it goes from there. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about today is the market update, and I'm going to just reference real quick the inventory. So the inventory is still super low, 80% lower than what we were 12 months ago, continues to drop, especially in the lower price points around here. So if you're looking for a home under typically around $500,000, there's just not much out there for it.
It's very difficult. Yeah, I have a lot of buyers right now, pre-qualified, ready to go, trying to find a home, and it's just really hard to find anything because of inventory being so low.
Yeah. So what do? I mean, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. I think of like when you're shooting those guns at those ski things, you got to be ready, right? Because that ski's going to go off any moment. That house is going to come on the market. You got to be ready to shoot. You got to be ready to go get it. You got to be ready to grab it, make the offer, and get going. So you got to be quick about that stuff. Last week, which reminds me, last week we talked a little bit about pausing during the holiday season. You know, during our Christmas video last time. If you didn't see that, look
During
below.
the home search,
During the home search,
yeah.
pausing, putting the brakes on during the holiday season, and maybe not going and looking at homes. Probably not a good idea. Always be ready to shop the market. So we talked a little bit about that last week, and that was great. Putting the brakes on.
I think with the exception of that very special day, we won't be putting the brakes on. So
That's right. Christmas. We'll be working around the holiday season, won't we?
And you also brought up a really good point in
Just
that
one.
it might be really good timing
Yes.
to get that offer accepted.
That's right.
Because so many people may be putting the brakes on.
Right.
All
Or
the
they're
more
out of
reason.
town, so you don't have as much competition. That's what I've seen over the last couple of years during the holiday season. People are out of town. They're not shopping during that time for houses typically. They're shopping for presents. They're enjoying cookies, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, thankful thoughts. We're going to add a new little segment to our show today, and it is called Thankful Thoughts. I used to do a segment for 2 years, Thankful Thursdays, and that was a lot of fun.
I do remember that.
Did you see some of those?
I did see some of those. I love those.
I did that while I was driving around in my car, and you know what was funny? People did not like that. Well, I say people. There was one lady specifically. She didn't like that I was driving around in my car doing videos with my camera on the dash. She thought I was going to hit somebody. If I would have done it for more than 2 years, I probably would have, but I didn't. Thank God I didn't hit anybody during those 2 years. And I slowed down. I started doing it in parking lots, slower, more restricted places where people weren't walking across the street. Thankful thoughts. So let's give at least one example from both of us. What's something we're thankful for right now? Something maybe that's happened recently or something that's coming up?
I am thankful for 2022. I'm thankful for the new beginning that it brings for all of us on so many different levels. When somebody asks me that question, though, John, my mind is flooded There are so many things that I think of. It's really hard to put it into words sometimes. What do you first think of?
Well, I think of, first of all, family. Sometimes we take family for granted, right? Because we're around them all the time, right? We're around our family and our kids and our spouses or our kids, like your daughters around here. And sometimes we take that for granted. I know I do. So I'm very thankful this season to be around family and my kids and get to spend more time with them. It's really cool. I'm thankful for that.
It's a great thing to be thankful for.
Yeah.
I think all of us should be.
Yes.
And always be living in that moment of gratitude.
Yeah.
When you can.
Makes our day brighter, I think. All right. Letters from Lulu. Let's see if anybody wrote us a letter today. Let's see if we got anything for Lulu here today. And Lulu's still awake, but she's just peeking over the pillow.
Let's see what she's got.
Just slightly today.
She's got.
Lulu, what do we got here for you today? Here we go. Dear Lulu, how much escrow should I give when making an offer? How much escrow should I make when giving an offer? First, let's talk about escrow. Because some people maybe don't know what that word means, or maybe they use a different word. Tell people a little bit about escrow. What is that?
Well, talking to a lot of people from all over the country, I have found out that you say the word escrow. Some people know what that means. Some people don't necessarily know what that means. But ultimately, in our conversation right here, it's the initial deposit on your contract.
Okay. Initial deposit on the contract. So when I write a contract for a buyer, one of the things that I fill in is the purchase price. How much are they going to offer the person for the home? The escrow, I would describe it to people as kind of like some skin in the game. The seller wants to see that the buyer is going to put something on the table and make it a serious offer by offering up some cash to go in a private account that usually the title company or the attorney holds. It goes into a bank account just for that, and it can't be released unless the buyer and seller agree to release that, or if it has to go to mediation. But it stays in that account. Nobody touches it. It sits there until closing, and then it goes towards closing to the purchase.
Would you say that's a little bit like putting some skin in the game?
Get the skin in the
from
game.
the buyer.
Get the skin in the game. It makes it serious. So when people write an offer, a lot of times I encourage them to get a lot of skin in the game if they want their offer to look better than other offers that are coming on the market. So there's a lot of things to consider, when writing an offer, and that's one of them. You want your offer to look the best to the seller, especially in our market that we're in now when we may have multiple offers on each home. How's yours going to stand out other than just the purchase price? We have the date, but the escrow is a big one that people need to use to stand out. Part of that question too that I hear, which by the way, some people call that a deposit, depending on where you're from, up north, down south. There's different names for that, but it's an amount that you get to put into that account to hold and goes toward your closing. So how much, right? I think I see typically anywhere from around 1.5% up to maybe around 5% is probably average. But the thing that people need to know when they're writing an offer is this: everything's negotiable, right? So when somebody submits an offer to a seller, they need to know that that seller may come back and want to negotiate that escrow amount.
Right.
So if they only offer $5,000, the seller may say, well, we want $10,000 in escrow. Right. So what have you seen in the mortgage side in regards to escrow? Anything that you want to add to that?
I would say they've increased overall. The reality is that escrow deposit or initial deposit on the contract, you could lose that if you don't fulfill the obligation of the contract.
That's right.
So if you think for any reason you may not close on that deal, you may not put as much money in escrow. And the seller knows that. So that's one of the big reasons that bigger escrow deposit is really going to get the attention of that seller.
Well said.
And when the inventory is so low like you're talking about, it's paramount that you get their attention.
Great point. You want to be in front. You want your offer to be on top. You want them to see it and there not to be issues. And yes, you want to have that skin in the game with that as well too. So well said. So escrow, if you have any questions or thoughts on escrow, comment below. We would be glad to answer any further questions about escrows or deposits that you're making because we want you to have the best offer. And then also if you're selling your home, you may have questions about, hey, they're only offering me $3,000. Is that a decent amount? We would talk to you about that as well too.
Absolutely. Just as an important decision to make for the seller and in terms of what to accept.
Yes, and I think that's why hiring the right agent is really important because you need to know what those amounts need to be. But you also want to protect your money because like Denise mentioned, you can lose your escrow if you fall out of contract for the wrong reasons or you don't stay within contract on the time periods. You can always lose that escrow amount. In my 10-year career, I've seen that once. So it doesn't happen often, but it can happen. You don't want to be that one person. You don't want to lose your escrow.
Agreed.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your escrow, especially if it's a big chunk. So anyways, a little bit there about escrows and deposits. Feel free to ask any questions there. And I almost forgot, if people have a question for Lulu, how should they get it to Lulu?
They should post it right there. They should post it right below us, right here. Don't forget to give us some likes for Lulu. And any questions that you have for Lulu, John and I would be happy to read for you guys and answer.
Super happy.
Hopefully.
Super happy. Because Lulu's not going to read it.
She can't.
She can't read, guys. She cannot read. It's a sad story. She cannot read. We'll tell you about it sometime. Okay, so likes for Lulu. Thank you for that. I want to connect people with our audience. I want to connect people with our vendors that we work with as well, too, before we finish up the day. I want to talk about, we mentioned Gene last week. Gene's our water guy. One thing he always says is he's got Jesus water, right? So he's got some Jesus water. That's his new thing, right? Yes. He's a hoot. Gene's a great guy. Even if you don't want his water, just hang out with him. He's a great guy. But watch the last video if you want to see a little bit more info on Gene and the holy water that he provides for you. But today, we want to talk about somebody else that we know well. You want to introduce who we want to talk about today?
Sure. Fred Bachmann and his wife GiGi have this amazing company down in Naples, GiGi Clean. I've never seen a company with so much integrity over what they do. Anything you want to add to that, John? I mean,
there's a lot I want to add to it.
Yeah.
Fred's the biggest giver I think I've ever met. Fred will take the shirt off his back and give it to you. Fred will connect you with anybody you need to be connected with if you need help around this area. But a little bit about their company I've noticed. I've known Fred now for probably 4 years. They are awesome at home cleaning, right? They're not just coming in to do a one and done. They're looking for clients that will be long term, and they nurture those clients and they take care of those clients and they go above and beyond any cleaner that I've ever seen in regards to taking care of one of your most valuable pieces of property. Fred also does some home watch on the side. I don't know if you knew that, but Fred also does home watch business as well. So let's tell everybody what Fred's, I don't know, it's called a motto, is it quote? It's their tagline?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So here's what they say. They say, we don't clean houses. We detail homes. And it's really good because that is what they do. They detail. They're not just a cleaner. They detail. Like you get your car detailed. They go above and beyond. They get between those cracks and those places that you may not even ever see. So they do a great job there.
I've heard Fred even talk about being asked to clean certain homes, and the folks just didn't understand. I think they wanted just like a fluff clean.
Yeah.
And that's just not what Fred and GiGi are about.
I don't think they know how to clean fluffily. No, they don't know how to do that.
No, they definitely detail homes.
They detail homes. Happy New Year to all you guys watching this video. There's going to be another one that'll pop up here shortly. Like and subscribe to this and enjoy this video. There's plenty more that we're going to keep producing for you guys every week. If you like these, if you don't, maybe once a month. We'll see how that goes. John C., Denise Richards, anything else you wanted to say for today?
Nope. I think we're good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.